My name's Krucker. I've been farming in rural Ancaster with my family for 25 years. We grow vegetables and we also have livestock, cows, pigs, and chickens. So we're mimicking ecological systems. And so what you see behind us is a field, but it's not as traditional as you would find in other fields because we've planted trees and shrubs every 100 feet. What we're doing is we're stacking food. It gives us an opportunity to graze animals, to grow vegetables, but at the same time have other types of food such as berries, nut trees, and food also just for diversity for wild species. Something to keep in mind is that there's a relationship between the clouds and whatever's in the fauna, the plant life. And my understanding is that grasslands and forests call down rain. And when you take those things away, the clouds pass over. And that's why you have a desert. So if there's nowhere for the rain to stay, if there's no soil to absorb it, if there's no root systems to bring it up, there's no leaves with photosynthesis, then you're basically moving very quickly toward a desert. We have had this happen over the millennium in different parts of the world, Mesoamerica, Persia, South Asia, where we shouldn't go too far down this road, where basically their ecosystems became destabilized. And we want to be careful. It's fragile, and we want to keep the rain coming. The Ontario Federation of Agriculture has an official policy to not expand the urban boundary for Hamilton. Urban sprawl takes food land out of production. And we have a large population, and we need to eat. And our well-being as organisms is directly connected to how far our food is from where we live. So taking away prime agricultural farmland in Hamilton, where we have a good climate, we have good temperature, we have adequate rainfall, that's problematic. Canada doesn't have a lot of that kind of farmland. So there is land around Hamilton that is excellent for growing vegetables. That would also be in the Elfrida area as well. It may be a little more mixed as far as soil qualities, but there's other things to grow as well. I just happen to grow vegetables, and sandy soil is excellent for that. Well, we've gone through a couple hundred years at least of cities becoming larger. And when you pave over land, you don't get it back. You put in basements and parking lots and grocery stores. I mean, I'm not suggesting we don't need those things, but we've taken away so much farmland that it's becoming questionable whether we can feed our own population. We're seeing food prices go up, and we're seeing governments around the world creating strategies, figuring out ways to feed their population by going to other countries and buying land. And so Canada needs to reassess its capacity to feed its population. We've seen those food prices go up, and we've seen significant political turmoil in different parts of the world related to food prices. Another problem with urban sprawl is that it introduces speculation on land. And we're seeing that particularly in the last 12 months, if not 2 years, in the Hamilton area, where land prices have gone from $10,000 an acre, well over 30, 40, or 50,000 an acre. And so it's made it too expensive for someone to go to the bank, get a mortgage, and farm. So sometimes we think just because the grocery store has every kind of vegetable and every kind of fruit 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that we're eating well. In reality, we need to be eating food that's nutrient dense and that hasn't traveled across the world. And so that's why it's important to have farmland right here, as opposed to relying only on a global food system. As organisms, if we don't eat well, then we're not as healthy, and we're seeing now the impact of things like low nutrient or poor nutrient food. So I don't think we can separate out something like COVID-19 from diet. and that's connected to farmland. So farmland is a significant carbon sink. It's considered one of the ways that we can take carbon out of the atmosphere and hold it, thereby cooling the planet. And that's another crisis that we're facing. We're all well aware that we have this thing called global warming, and it's creating quite varied weather patterns, which is then impacting our capacity to grow food. Also, think about it this way. If you pave over all this land, where does the rain go? It goes into the sewer system, ends up in some sort of large aqueducts, and right into the lakes. It doesn't get held up and used in the soil for plant life. So this is not just a farmer's issue. This isn't just about, can I keep being a farmer? We all need to eat. We all need to eat healthy. And we need to begin to preserve the farmland around us. For too long, we've just gone down the development route. And there's a reason why we have things like the green belt and the white belt. And that's to protect our urban areas and the people that live in those urban areas. So there's a survey coming out. I read the 2 questions. And as I understand it, there is an either-or option here. You either stop developing the way we've been developing, or you move on quickly and continue to do development the way things have been done. That's not as clear in the way the questions are written. It's an either-or at this point. There needs to be a stop to the type of development they're proposing, and there needs to be a new way to think about how we're going to live.